Alright, so we just talked about the discriminant in the intro video, so let's go ahead and put all that to practice. The discriminant is the formula b squared minus 4ac. So that's the first thing we have to do, is figure out what b squared minus 4ac equals. So when you have your quadratic equation, you want to make sure you've got everything on one side and 0 on the other side. We can go ahead and list off a is in front of the x squared, b is in front of the x, and c is the number on the end. So now that we have a, b, and c identified, we can go ahead and find our discriminant. Our discriminant is going to equal b squared, so 6 squared, minus 4 times a times c. Alright, so b squared is 36. And then what we have here is we have a negative 4 times a positive 1 times a negative 2. So what I notice are two negatives being multiplied, and anytime you multiply two negatives you get a positive answer, so I'm going to go ahead and change those to positives right there, because I know it's going to be 36 plus 4 times 1 times 2 is 8, so our discriminant is 44. Alright, so now what we want to do is determine the nature of the roots. So our discriminant is a positive number, it's greater than 0. So if we go back to your notes right above, if your discriminant is greater than 0, that means it's a real number. And it's going to be not equal. You can go ahead and abbreviate if you want. You can use the not equal to symbol. Because any discriminant that's greater than 0, the two roots will be different numbers. They won't be the same number. So it's not equal. Then the last thing we determine is if it's rational or irrational. So the way we figure that out, just our little shortcut method, is 44 a perfect square number? And because it's not, this is irrational. And that is not how you spell it. There we go. Alright, so discriminant is 44, that's one answer, and then the other answer is to describe the nature of the roots. It's a real number. Our roots, so the roots are real, the roots are not equal to each other, and the roots will be irrational. Alright, let's try another one. So we've got everything on one side and 0 on the other. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to 1, and c is equal to negative 6. We can go ahead and set up the discriminant is equal to b squared, so 1 squared minus 4 times a times c. Alright, so 1 squared is 1, and here's, pay attention to these positives and negatives. I have a negative and negative. If you have two negatives, you know that those two negatives will turn out positive, which just tells me it's going to be 1 plus 4 times 1 times 6 is 24. So our discriminant is 25. Alright, now we want to kind of keep an eye on those notes. If your discriminant is greater than 0, because 25 is greater than 0, that means our roots are real numbers. They are not equal to each other, which means the two roots will be different numbers. And then because 25 is a perfect square number, that means that our roots will be rational. So we find the discriminant and we list off those pieces to describe the nature of the roots.